Hey man.
Hey, what's going on?
Well, not too much.
Hey, I see that you're building the Honda, first ever Fonda, Honda K Series V8. How's that like
Yeah.
for you?
Um, sorry, what was that last? I couldn't hear what you
W-
said at the very end.
What is it like having that kind of title, saying you're the one that did something before Honda did?
It's kind of crazy. It's definitely something that's very unexpected, and it was part of the reason why I actually did this.
Okay.
Um, I
That,
was thinking about like I originally started with designing a V12
mm-hmm.
because I thought a V12 was like an amazing sounding engine,
Mm-hmm.
but like to have a machine capable of machining a V12 engine block is very expensive, and then that time just and the cost of it just gets
Mm-hmm.
more and more. I was like, okay, I could do a V8, V12, maybe not right now. So let's tone down these ambitions a little bit, and then who makes the best four cylinders?
We all know
I
Honda.
Honda does.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I ended up with making a Honda V8 engine.
Okay. So why did you pick the Honda K Series?
I actually started with the Honda H series.
Oh, really?
The Honda H series. Something that's really cool about it is people can flip the head, so
Mm-hmm.
it can be facing forwards or backwards, and it's a modification that people can do, and that makes things so much simpler if I was to design a V8 around that.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that if I did, everyone would be like, "Where's the K series?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the F series? Why'd you choose the H series?"
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the future of Honda engines and the future of what it is that, like the Honda tuning community, they've really embraced the K series
Mm-hmm.
far more than the H series, and I felt like that was the correct direction, even if it was more engineering work and time on my effort.
Okay. So, what do you think of the B series? Like, do you see yourself doing a B series later in the line?
Uh, you know what? I would love to make a couple of different engines. If this engine works, I plan on making a V10 and a V12.
That would be
And
sick. Imagine a Honda V12 motor.
oh yeah,
That would be
yeah,
crazy.
K72 like
Yes.
is it will
All
be a
for it.
monster.
All for
And
it.
I've already done a lot of the groundwork for this with designing of the crank, and I can repeat a lot of the elements that I've already used.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it a lot more feasible. So I'd probably do V10, V12, and then I would probably do a couple of V8 engines, maybe a 4G63 based
Mm-hmm.
engine,
Oh, that would be
something
sick.
along those lines. And you got to have a B series. The B series is an iconic
Mm-hmm.
Honda engine, and they're awesome.
Yeah,
And so
imagine that a V8 B series just screaming at 9 grand. That
yeah.
would be crazy.
Oh, we can get a little higher than
Oh
that.
yeah,
Well,
10 is most definitely capable.
yeah.
Okay. So, what is the timeline of the build? Like, how when did you start, and how long do you think you'll have until you're finished?
So I actually started this about 5 years ago. I'm a
Wow.
mechanical engineer, and this was just like, if I'm being 100% honest, hopefully no one at my work sees this. Um, I was bored at work. I was sick of designing plastic parts. And I was like, I'm not being challenged enough
Mm-hmm.
as an engineer. I want something that's challenging. And so I was like, you know what? In my spare time, I'm gonna design something cool on my own time. I didn't use my work's time. I did it on my own time, and just sat down and started making this thing, and what I thought would be the coolest engine ever made.
Yeah,
So
it
that's what
definitely
I
will be.
did.
It definitely will be.
Uh,
I would buy one. I would.
Thank
I
you.
can see myself now. Look at myself like, hey, look at my RSX, because I have an RSX right now. So I have a K20A Type R swapped RSX, and
Yeah.
I got the motor for 3,500, and
Hmm.
I put it in. Actually, I paid someone to put it in because I didn't want to touch it. That motor just came from Japan. I'm not touching it, messing it up, and leave that to professionals. So I put it in my car, and immediately after, I just I didn't even realize this, but that thing is fast. Like I thought the K24 was something. I beat people with K24s, and I kept the regular stock Type S trans on it. So
Hmm.
I haven't even tuned it yet, and I'm sitting with 5 Mustangs. So I can only imagine that times two.
It'll be that times two and plus a little bit more, just
Mm-hmm.
due to like the friction
Mm-hmm.
of like the crankshaft and a couple of things. So it's like times 2.1. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
just
you
some
get
gorilla math.
and you got the torque that most Hondas are missing because with double the cylinders. Yeah,
Yep.
that's gonna be crazy. So you okay?
Uh, so yeah, I have a chronic lung condition. My lungs are permanently damaged on the one side, and I have to do a breathing treatment for 2 hours each day. So the reason why this project even exists is I'm forced to sit at a desk and do breathing treatments to clean out this fluid in my lungs. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, what
Might
am
as
I
well do
going to
something in
do
these
with
two
this
hours
time?
after sit here.
Yeah, so you can only play so much like video games.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working on this. So about 2.5 years ago is when I found out that my lungs started deteriorating really, really fast and really bad. And that's what started this project. It's like, okay, we're going to be serious about this and kick it into high gear.
Okay. Respect. Respect. Okay. What is the most challenging aspect about this build?
The crankshaft has been. I've probably gone through like, I don't know, 20 or 30 different designs. The biggest hardship is I can't use stock Honda K series bearings.
Hmm.
If I was to do that, it'd probably work for a naturally aspirated motor.
Mm-hmm.
But I want this to be able to handle boost and to
Okay.
be a robust and strong system. And uh, the bearing overlap area for if I was to use the stock Honda bearings is like really tiny, like
Mm-hmm.
18 millimeters squared, super small.
Oh,
And if I was to, so I had to switch the main bearings and the rod journal bearings to something much larger to make it work for a V8. Otherwise, it'd snap the crank. And
okay.
so I had to make a lot of adjustments. And my partner with that in helping, like, I sent off my design, like, oh, back in like July of last year. I was
Mm-hmm.
to all these different companies, and um, my partner ended up being Aero Precision in the UK.
Okay.
And they're like, hey, dude, yeah, this will work, but you have a couple of things on here that we could definitely make better,
Mm-hmm.
and we could make this stronger. And I followed a lot of their guidance, um, did a lot more simulations, made a lot of changes, and ended up with the overall better product.
Okay. So, how do you like run the simulations? That's kind of my question. What software do you use to like make all of this happen?
Excellent question. So I use CAD software, computer aided design. That's what
Okay.
CAD stands for. And there's a couple of big names. In my professional setting, in my day job, I use SolidWorks and PTC Creo.
Okay.
Um, but for this project, I'm not using any of my company's software or any of that. Got to keep personal projects and work projects
Mm-hmm.
separate so that way there's no legal
Mm-hmm.
questions or anything like that. So for this project, I use Fusion 360.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really robust CAD platform, and I believe it's free, and you can have up to 10 parts that you can use and work on at a time. But for me, the licensing fees are what's a lot less
Mhm.
for once you get to that professional setting, that
Mhm.
professional tier. It's a lot more realistic than some of the other CAD softwares, and it's also super powerful. Like designing a spur gear in SolidWorks is a pain and is so frustrating. In Fusion, you just click like 2 buttons, script, add in, spur gear, and you just type in the parameters and it just generates it in like 30 seconds.
Wow. Okay. So from there, um, can you like 3D print your stuff for to like look at?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've done a lot with this build to try and reduce costs, because each one of these parts is very, very expensive.
Mhm.
Um, and to catch some of my early mistakes, I've done full size 3D prints of the actual parts.
Wow.
Um, the crankshaft uh, uh, took like 120 hours to print, something like that. But you know, took a couple of sections and created that. But I was able to physically.
All right. So where are we at? We were talking about. I completely forgot. Okay.
No worries. We had just talked about the simulation software,
Oh yeah, the
how I
you were
set
talking
that up.
about 3D printing.
Oh yeah, 3D printing. Yeah, so I've done a whole bunch of full-size 3D prints and use those to, because sometimes in CAD everything will look perfect on screen and it
Mhm.
will go together perfectly on screen. But when you go and physically try and do it, it's just like impossible.
Mhm.
And I feel like, have you ever worked on a Nissan 300ZX from the 90s?
I haven't, but I know a
Oh my
bunch
god.
of people who have. Now, from that look, I'm pretty sure I just saved myself a bullet.
Cool. So I think a lot of, like, you can see this a lot in cars that were designed in the early 90s or late 90s.
Mhm.
Car companies started using CAD, and but they didn't always design it well to be serviced
Mhm.
or worked on. And like some cars are just a pain and terrible and frustrating to work on.
Mhm.
Replacing the turbos on the 300Z, awful, awful job. Don't want to do it. Don't like doing it. Changing the timing belt on Audi S4 B5, nah, nah. Like those are some of like my worst automotive working on cars experiences, is doing those sort of things. So
I can name you one better.
what's that?
Anything on a Chevy Impala SS.
Anything.
Do
The
you know?
old
Do
school
you know why? No, no,
Impalas are
not the
good.
old school. The new ones.
Yeah.
The 05 ones where they stuck the LS motor sideways in that little front row drive car. That motor is too big for that engine bay. It don't
Yeah,
work.
it doesn't work and it's frustrating. So I found, like, when I full size 3D printed like my engine block and like put the parts together, I was like, okay, so this rear timing gear that is like critical and so important to my build,
Mm-hmm.
it's a pain in the ass to put on. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this just does not work. So I had to redesign it, change its position, figure out how to remount it, and make it so it was accessible to both like me, who understands this engine from
Mm-hmm.
like inside and out, and somebody else that would be approaching it for the first time.
Okay. So that's good how you're actually making this for someone else to work on.
I
Because
hope so.
yeah, if you can do it, it shouldn't really be as hard as it is to others, As long as the person that makes it understands it and makes it to where it's somewhat easy to get to, it should be fine. So, I guess we should move on to our next question, which is you said the motor you're building the motor for boost. what are the capabilities of the motor, and what do you think it's gonna be able to put out?
So the first engine that's just for me, that engine is going to be all motor. And I'm using Crayon 2-cylinder heads. They're top of the line cylinder heads, titanium valves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using custom pistons, titanium connecting rods, like ultra lightweight stuff. And
Sheesh, you're
uh,
talking a 1,000 horsepower motor right there.
it's going to make a lot of horsepower, naturally aspirated.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I would be disappointed with anything less than like 750 to 800. Like if I can't hit those numbers on pump gas, I will be sad.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, that's just naturally aspirated, and I want it to rev to at least 10,000 RPMs. Mass says I can go higher,
That's an F1 motor
but
right there. That is an
thank you.
F1 motor right
Uh,
Let's be honest here. 10,000 RPMs. You said it's
yeah,
a
yeah,
5-liter block, right?
yeah. So 90 millimeter bore, 99 millimeter stroke, and it should rev really high, and um, that's assuming I have done like everything correctly, but it looks, based on the math,
Mm-hmm.
says it should. And the when I first started this, I was like, okay, what's the best naturally aspirated high revving V8? And like all the little like internet things says it's like the Ferrari Speciale, and that thing's like making 600 horsepower and it revs to either 9,000 or 9,500. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, I gotta crush that. I can't just like beat it.
Crush
I
it.
need to crush it. I
Mm-hmm.
need to completely destroy it. And so that was my original goal. As
Yeah.
far as like for engine number two, that
Must
one will be
Mustang.
boosted.
That's what I'm thinking of. Like when the way that you're seeing this, because it's basically what you're doing is you're building like a Honda motor that's kind of looking like a 5.0 because it's able to rev high, it's able to make power, and it has I guess like it has like dual. You still have VTEC, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Um,
yeah, it's gonna be exactly like a 5.0, except it's gonna have a very, very overbuilt 4-cylinder as his root. So you times that by two, you're gonna have a motor that's way more reliable. You're gonna have a motor that's way more capable because you can push 1,000 horsepower out of a K24 just by itself. So if you build it both ways, you could essentially push 2,000 out of it.
Essentially, I'm going to start off like with my boosted application. It's going to be an 8-into-1 header because I have a hot V, so my
Mm-hmm.
exhaust is in the center of the engine,
Okay.
and so it's going to be an 8-into-1 header into a big, big meaty turbo, and that will then the plan is to start off conservative at 1,400 horsepower
Mm-hmm.
and then rise up and hopefully hit to that 2,000 capable mark. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's a couple of things that make this a little different than just a regular Honda K24 and just doubling it. The
Mm-hmm.
strength of that crankshaft is that key component. The
Mm-hmm.
block will be able to handle it; won't be an issue. It's did I design the crank well enough to be able to handle that? And
Mm-hmm.
are the rods strong enough to be able to handle that? So those are the key things for me and what I have to do in order to make it happen. So start off at that 1,200, 1,400 mark, which I think will be relatively easy
Mm-hmm.
and safe to build to, and then start rising from there and see what breaks, see
Mm-hmm.
what doesn't break, and make adjustments.
I'm just waiting for like the video on your Instagram account, I think, running, because I want to know what it sounds like. Like I really do. I cannot wait to just hear a cammed out Honda V8 just lubbing away. Not now
It
you
should.
can't either.
Yeah, yeah. I'm super stoked. Like I'm so excited. It should sound kind of like an old school 1960s F1 race car,
Mm-hmm.
V8. So that's what it should sound like. And if I can get over that 10,000 RPM mark, which
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure I can, it should sound pretty glorious.
Yeah, if you got titanium valves, I really don't see anything that can really hold it back.
The
Because
only thing would be the oil flow to those specific main bearings, but I'm using the main bearing oil gallery design from another engine that uses these main bearings. Sorry, I'm not going to tell you exactly which main bearings right now,
Mhm.
just because there there is another company. As soon as I started saying, "Hey, my project's out," there's another company that's like, "Oh, hey, we're building one too." It's like,
Really?
are you, or are you just copying like some of my designs? Because it kind of seems like you are. So
Huh.
yeah. So
I
there's
did
some
not know
little
about that.
shadiness there.
Huh. Yeah, you're the one. You're the only one person I know that has that's making a Honda V8. So
Well, thank you.
you got me something I don't know. But besides from that, so you said that you'll be providing these to the public eventually.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's deal with that.
So first engine will be mine. That'll go into my own car, and then the next probably five or so will probably go to some popular YouTubers.
Mm-hmm.
They have expressed interest in my engine and being able to run it in some specialty builds for them,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's like some crazy drift or some drag. It'll be in a couple of different projects, but it all depends on if I can build my engine first.
Mm-hmm.
Those first few engines will be billet engines. They'll be fairly expensive running dry sumps.
Mm-hmm.
The next engines after that, if I have enough interest based on, the different YouTube and other people and other publications finding out about this, then I'll make a cast iron, not a cast iron, but a cast version, cast aluminum version. That'll drop the price by 30%
Mm-hmm.
alone and make it more accessible to more people. And I'll sell both a billet and cast version
That was my next question.
to
Okay.
whoever's interested.
Okay. So let me give you an idea here of what I'm thinking of at the moment. I'm thinking of a CRV that's all-wheel drive with a six-speed swap with a V8 of a Honda motor, just flying down the drag strip. I'm not, can you think of it right now?
Let's. Yeah, I'm picking up what you're throwing down. I mean, that'd be super trolly, but I think you need to go Honda Odyssey.
Oh,
Let's go Odyssey and let's go full troll.
ooh, you thinking big now? I was trying to give him a slight thing because wow, you said Odyssey.
Yeah, why
Oh
not?
no, people
Gotta
expect
have
the
some
hatch.
fun.
I would, I would, I would be scared to line up against a CRV, but Odyssey is just plain mean.
It would be. Um, but the
Okay.
the car I put it in, it honestly changes every week.
Hmm.
My wife wants me to throw it in a Acura NSX.
That would be
My
sick.
brother wants, yeah, I'm getting that one 3D scanned, like the engine bay for it,
Hmm.
to make sure it all fits.
Hmm.
The NSX has a transverse layout engine, which is kind of a pain to work with. But uh, just based on like the tape measure dimensions, it looks like everything should fit. But I'm getting it 3D scanned to find out, like, yes, 100%, it's going to fit in the NSX, no problem. My brother wants me to throw it into an FD RX-7, so Mazda,
Hmm.
just because it should rev higher than a rotary, and that's kind of trolly.
Bro, you don't even understand. I just have a better idea that makes the Odyssey look like nothing. Do
All
you want to
right,
know
what
what I
is it?
have? Honda Ridgeline,
Honda Ridgeline.
the truck.
My buddy has a Hunt. a Honda Ridgeline, and that's all he talks about. He's like,
Bro,
just give me a V8, just give me a V8.
just
It'd be perfect.
just throw the V8 in the Honda Ridgeline, and just I don't even know. I just want to see that. Just give the Honda Ridgeline an actual real engine. Just see what it's capable of. I would buy that over a T-Rex. I would be sick. Throw a supercharger on it and just see what would happen.
Yeah, there's all sorts of possibilities. I
Mm-hmm.
have, um, but we'll see. I might go a little trollish on the Ferrari people just because they're so purist and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
Ferrari 355 was the last great Ferrari and blah blah blah, and be like, that engine's garbage. Let let's stick this Honda in it, and we'll actually make some power and
Facts.
make and have some fun with this. Oh, and your engine that I sold out of your Ferrari, uh, built this whole car.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
Yep.
there's things like that. That would be fun.
Okay. So, when this goes public, how much do you think you're gonna sell it for?
That's a little hard to say. The first few are going to be billet engines, and I think I'll probably have a couple of like edits and adjustments
Mm-hmm.
in between each engine. Um, and billet engines with the dry sump are fairly expensive. Like, look at similar race engines,
Mm-hmm.
and they're fairly expensive. But if I can order my parts for the engine, the custom components, like the custom components are the crankshaft, the rear timing gear, um, and the rear timing chain guides, and then like a handful of other little components. Sorry, my kid's screaming.
You're fine.
Uh, uh, if I can order those in minimum batches of like 5 to 10, it drops the price by 30%.
Okay.
So
So,
a little too soon to say exactly what it'll be, and it also depends on the interest of the community.
mhm. I think a lot of people would be interested in that. I mean, I don't. I would love to see someone stuff it into a Honda hatch. Don't you?
Uh, yeah, I would love to. I would love to put it as a rear mid-engine all-wheel drive Honda hatch. Like,
MR2.
that'd be the coolest.
MR2.
Like, yeah. Well, I see it as like EK or EG,
Mm-hmm.
and doing something really wild and really weird. But we'll see.
Man, the capabilities are endless. Just you can put it into an S2K. You can put it into anything and just start making power. Be
Yeah,
crazy.
it'll fit it in a S2K. It's a little tight. The frame rails on that
Mhm.
are little tight. It's going to be close. I'm getting that one also 3D scanned. Um, Hopefully, right now I have. I need to still double check the CAD, but I'm 95% sure at this point that I'll be using LS engine mount position
Mhm.
and location. So any car that has an LS swap kit for it, my engine will bolt into that position. Now it won't be ideally set up for like the custom intake or headers and stuff
Mhm.
like that, but it'll give people a starting off point
Mhm.
uh, for this build. So
Yeah, I think it would be really cool. I mean, I want to see it put into like I want to see like Honda approach you one day and just ask to use the motor and just see how that would go. Because not everyone in the Honda or in every community, they're all bash on Honda because they're four cylinders and they don't really make anything else. So if you give them what they're asking for, a giant V8, and just stuff it into something, I just want to see everyone's faces. But I think that pretty much concludes the interview. Anything else you want to add?
Uh, no, not really. I would love to have Honda reach out to me. I've reached out to them a couple of times in the past, but haven't heard anything. Have been kind of ghosted by them. But we'll see once I get physical parts here
Mhm.
and all of that. I'm sorry about the kids screaming in the background.
I think your best bet on trying to actually get to Honda would probably be to go to a dealership and just ask them to send in a word. That might work.
Just just go to the
Yeah.
dealership with my my Honda V8 and be like, "Hey, can you change the oil on this?"
Yeah,
Like,
there you go. You're like,
"Hey,
is
this
this
is
a
my
Honda?
NSX. Can you change the oil?"
What is
It'd be
this?
awesome.
That'd be sick. You'll
Yeah.
have all types of just your social media thing would go insane the next day, man. That would blow up so fast.
Yeah. I wasn't even planning on sharing all of where I'm at right now, not for another 3 months, just
Mhm.
so I had like physical parts with me in hand.
Mhm.
But things
Hey,
happen, things get shared, and here we are.
all right, man. So this pretty much ends the interview, and I'll talk
Yeah.
to you later.
All right. Thanks, man. It
All
was a
right, man.
pleasure.
Welcome. Bye.
Bye.